Tom MacDonald's Proud to Be a Problem hits like a gut punch of raw honesty. This track pulls back the curtain on addiction, heartbreak, and society's broken promises. Then flips the script with unshakable defiance. We're breaking down every layer of lyrics that turned this anthem into a battle cry for the misunderstood. Strap in, this is more than music, it's a manifesto for everyone who's ever been labeled too much and wore it with pride. Let's dive deep. Tom MacDonald's opening verse hits hard because it doesn't just describe struggles. It connects them like dots between our private battles and society's broken promises. He starts with addiction, but not in the dramatic intervention TV way we're used to. By listing coffee, cocaine, or cigarettes side by side, he makes a quiet point. We're all hooked on something to get through the day. That morning coffee drinker and the late night Coke user aren't so different. Both are chasing relief, just in socially acceptable versus condemned forms. This levels the playing field, making listeners question who really gets to judge whom. Then comes the real gut punch. We've all been asked to sell our souls for a nicer office and a bigger check. This isn't just about corporate greed. It's about the everyday compromises that chip away at people. That moment when you laugh at the boss's offensive joke to stay on their good side, or when you bite your tongue on your principles to keep a paycheck coming. MacDonald frames these not as a personal failures, but as systemic traps where dignity gets traded for survival in small, invisible installments. The verse gets painfully specific with economic struggle. Had the light cut off, barely paying rent. Here's where the song stops being philosophical and gets visceral. This line isn't a metaphor. It's the smell of ramen noodles cooking on a hot plate because the stove got disconnected, the heart-racing dread of a landlord's knock on the door. By including this after the bigger check line, McDonald shows the two extremes of capitalism, the rat race for wealth and the reality of those who lose that race. Finally, he lands on heartbreak with surgical precision. We've all been in love with someone who said they'd stay, but they up and left. Notice he doesn't say cheated or lied. It's that specific betrayal of abandoned promises that cuts deepest. The use of up and left makes it feel sudden, like a rug pulled out from under you. This isn't teenage drama. It's the kind of love that probably had shared bills and a pet together, making the emptiness afterward echo louder. What makes this verse extraordinary is its sequencing. It walks us down the hierarchy of needs, from addiction to work to housing to love, only to show how each can collapse. By the end, we're not just hearing a list of problems, but feeling the weight of how interconnected they are. The coffee addiction keeps you grinding at the soul crushing job that barely pays rent, while the loneliness makes the substances more tempting. McDonald doesn't offer solutions here because the point isn't the fall. It's the unspoken question the verse leaves hanging. When the system sets you up to fail at every level, why would anyone be surprised when people become problems? The pre-chorus serves as a defiant yet introspective bridge between the struggles described in the verses and the bold self-acceptance of the chorus. MacDonald starts with the lines, "We don't ask for help. We don't cry no tears," which immediately establish a tone of stubborn resilience. This suggests a mindset common among people who've faced hardship. They've learned to endure pain silently, either out of pride, self-reliance, or the belief that showing vulnerability is a weakness. It reflects a cultural attitude, especially among men, where admitting struggle is often seen as failure, so they internalize their pain instead. The next lines, "We know walking through hell," it can take some years. Acknowledge that suffering isn't a quick fix. It's a long, grueling process. By framing life's challenges as walking through hell, MacDonald emphasizes how exhausting and relentless hardship can be. Yet, there's also a quiet acceptance here, the understanding that healing or overcoming struggles isn't instant. This line resonates with anyone who's been through prolonged difficulties, whether it's addiction, poverty, or emotional trauma. The last part, but we don't blame no one because it may be our fault. We may be all the names that we've been called, introduces a layer of self awareness. Instead of playing the victim, the lyrics suggest personal accountability. Even if the world has labeled them negatively, they are willing to own their mistakes. The chorus is the emotional and philosophical core of the song, where Tom MacDonald fully embraces defiance, self acceptance, and rebellion against societal judgment. The repeated use of maybe at the start of each line introduces a sense of ambiguity. MacDonald acknowledges that he and others like him could be seen as losers, wrong, or even bad guys, but he doesn't fully concede to those labels. Instead, he flips them into a badge of honor. This reflects the internal conflict many people face when society defines them in harsh terms, yet they refuse to let those definitions break them. When he says, maybe we're bad guys and they knew it all along, there's a hint of sarcasm or dark humor, as if to say, fine, if you've already decided I'm the villain, then I won't waste time convincing you otherwise. This line challenges the idea that people are purely good or bad, suggesting that judgment from others is often oversimplified and unfair. The next line, or maybe we're perfect, but probably not, adds a self aware, almost sarcastic shrug. Nobody is flawless, and MacDonald isn't pretending to be, but he's also not apologizing for his imperfections. The most powerful statement comes in the closing line. Either way, babe, I'm just proud to be a problem they can't solve. Here, MacDonald takes ownership of being an enigma, a disruption, or a challenge to the status quo. Calling himself a problem they can't solve is a rebellious reclaiming of power. It's not about being actually problematic in a harmful way, but about refusing to conform, to be easily labeled, or to fit into boxes society tries to place him in. The word proud is key. It's a rejection of shame, a middle finger to anyone who expects him to feel guilty for being different or difficult. Ultimately, the chorus is an anthem for outsiders, misfits, and those who've been judged harshly by the world. It's not about denying mistakes or flaws, but about refusing to let those flaws define you in the way others want them to. Instead of seeking approval, MacDonald celebrates being unapologetically himself, even if that means being seen as a problem. It's a defiant stance that resonates with anyone who's ever felt misunderstood, judged, or pushed to the margins. The chorus doesn't ask for forgiveness or acceptance. It declares that sometimes the greatest strength is in being impossible to control, categorize, or silence. The second verse digs even deeper into modern struggles, painting a raw portrait of the 21st century coping mechanisms and emotional pain. Where verse 1 established universal hardships, verse 2 gets more specific about contemporary vices and psychological battles, creating a vivid contrast between outward appearances and inner turmoil. The opening lines about being hooked on something evolve from verse one's substances to include mobile phones, brilliantly capturing how technology addiction has joined traditional vices like pills and beer. This subtle shift reflects how modern escapes have changed. We're just as dependent on our screens as previous generations were on alcohol or drugs. The inclusion of regretful actions taken to avoid laying alone exposes the desperate measures people take to escape loneliness, suggesting that bad decisions often stem from our fundamental need for connection rather than pure recklessness. MacDonald then dives into mental health with stark honesty, listing bad days where people feel depressed and anxious or drunk and stoned. The deliberate pairing of mental health struggles with substance use implies how frequently they intertwine. Many people self medicate emotional pain because proper help feels inaccessible or stigmatized. The verse's darkest moment comes with nights when we go to sleep and don't want to live no more. A heartbreaking admission of suicidal ideation that makes the song's defiant chorus even more powerful. This isn't glorifying suffering, it's acknowledging how close to the edge many people live. What makes this verse particularly impactful is its non judgmental tone. MacDonald doesn't condemn these coping mechanisms, he simply states them as facts of modern life. The lack of solutions offered is actually the point. These are complex problems society hasn't solved, and the people experiencing them are often shamed rather than understood. When viewed alongside the pre chorus about not asking for help, the verse becomes even more poignant. It shows people drowning in plain sight, putting on tough faces while battling private wars. This sets up perfectly to the chorus's declaration of being a problem they can't solve, framing societal outcasts not as failures but as reflections of larger, unaddressed issues in our culture. The bridge serves as the song's defiant climax, transforming the earlier admissions of struggle into a powerful metaphor for resilience and rebellion. Where the verses and chorus explore pain and societal judgment, the bridge shifts to a mindset of radical self empowerment, not just enduring hard times, but weaponizing them. MacDonald begins with a survivalist mantra: we ain't afraid of hard times. Hard times pass. This simple, repetitive phrasing mirrors the kind of tough self talk people use to push through adversity. The acknowledgement that there will be dark nights, but they don't ever last, offers a sliver of hope, but crucially, not a passive one. Unlike cliched encouragements to wait for the storm to pass, the next lines reveal an active, even aggressive approach to suffering. We ain't waiting for sunlight, we're pouring out gas. This is where the song's message crystallizes. The oppressed aren't patiently hoping for rescue. They're choosing to burn down their own struggles, literally fueling a rebellion against the darkness. The metaphor intensifies with, we're proud to be the problems, light a match, which flips societal scorn into a source of power. Where the chorus framed being a problem as an apologetic identity, the bridge takes it further. Problems aren't just accepted, they are ignited. Fire here symbolizes both destruction and purification, suggesting that sometimes the only way out is to radically transform the system or the self through force. There's a punk rock sensibility to this imagery. It's not about polite reform, but about the kind of disruptive change that makes society uncomfortable. What makes the bridge especially poignant is its contrast with the verse's vulnerability. After detailing addiction, heartbreak, and depression, this section rejects victimhood entirely. It's not a denial of pain, but a radical reimagining of it. If society sees struggling people as problems, then fine. They'll become an unstoppable force rather than a passive casualty. The bridge, though brief, is the song's emotional turning point, where pain metastasizes into power and resilience becomes a revolt. It doesn't offer solutions so much as declare war on the very idea that suffering should be endured quietly. In doing so, it captures the song's essence. Sometimes survival looks like arson.